I'll pass this one. There we go. Is it from IT? All right, ready to go? All right. Welcome everybody. We're going to do some rearranging here to the December 21st, 2023 Public Utility Advisory Board Executive Meeting. Les Boatwright, the chair. We'll go ahead and ask our Christina Stillen to call the roll.
Michael Talcott.
Here.
Anthony Nietzsche.
Here.
Terry Tingle.
Here. And I will ask everybody again, we are reminded to make sure we speak into the mics as close as we can so they can pick it up on the system. All right, we'll go down to reports to start with. Finance and admin. It's a light packet this month, but anything you'd like to share with us?
Basically, I can tell you that it's pretty much the same report as the last 2 months. I'll just go division by division. Power and light, overall positive on revenues and right on track for expenses. We're at third of the way through the year. So just looking at that, our year-to-date net income is $14,245,162. That's before transfers. Our fund balance has gone down a couple million from the previous month, but to be expected. Miscellaneous revenue was the only account that I saw, largely out of balance, and that's primarily storm recovery and some fiber service for the school district.
Okay.
Water, positive again for revenues. Expenses are a little bit less than we had budgeted year to date, so that's positive. And again, miscellaneous revenue is the only thing that is significantly out of budget, and that is, again, it's only $31,000 out of budget, so it's not a huge significant amount. Oh, it's $15,000 out of budget, $31,000 for the year so far. Supplies is a little bit high, but that's, again, mostly inventory and to be expected. Sanitary sewer, we are right on track. Both revenues, expenses, a little bit under where we projected for the year, so that's good. And everything else looks pretty good or not a significant dollar amount. So I don't know if you guys have any questions. Obviously, as always, if you ever have a question, let us know.
Any questions on the finance part? I would like just to make a comment for those watching. You said we were a third of the year way through the budget. People are going to go, but it's December. It's because our fiscal year, July 1st to June 30th. So for those keeping score, that's why we're a third of the way through it.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Thank you. Anything from municipal services? Nice sweater. It's festive. IPL.
Just to let you know, I have been elected as to the board of directors of Midwest Reliability Organization, which is our NERC monitoring region. Went to my first quarterly board meeting just a couple weeks ago, and a very interesting group of people. We have an orientation in January, and then quarterly board meetings after that. So I'll keep you up to date on what's happening in the reliability world.
All right, sounds good.
Other than that, here back at home, we had our kickoff meeting for the studies being done by DKMT. That included city manager's office, some other directors, and my staff. Right so far, they asked great questions. I think they're going to do a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any questions of IPL?
I have one. Thank you. Is that board you're on national or just SPP?
SPP is on the operations side. Midwest Reliability, MRO works underneath the umbrella of NERC to monitor everything in our region. And MRO covers a area that goes from North Texas all the way up into Canada, across the upper Midwest.
Sounds good.
Okay, anything else? All right. No deputy city manager, so unless somebody is filling in for him, I guess he's not here. We're down to board member comments, so I'll open it up. Anybody questions? I think you had some. I've got a few things I want to ask questions on. Okay, go for it.
Okay, all right. If everyone will bear with me, I'm doing this a lot for the people watching too, so. Okay. At the first of this, I'd like to call a special meeting for next week before the next council meeting, and this is why. First, I understand that this item, the purchase of the GEHA building, did not get placed on the agenda because staff didn't get back to Christine in time. We as a board generally get about 24 hours, sometimes less, to review pages of financials and minutes. If the city doesn't have this information at their fingertips, then we're talking a purchase of about $32 million debt for the GEHA building, and to me, that's a problem. According to the charter, which hasn't been changed yet, all these issues are supposed to come to PUAB first. Council has already had a first reading on this, and I'm going to read this again. So, for the purpose of promoting municipal planning, public utilities operated within the city, the council, city employees, city officers, and all other public officials shall cooperate and consult with the board on all policy and planning matters related to such public utilities. The council shall not pass any ordinance, resolution, motion, or other proposition which relates to any matter of policy or planning of a public utility operated within the city without first giving the board the opportunity to submit to the council within a reasonable time the board's findings and recommendations relating to such matters. The council may determine what constitutes reasonable time for the purposes of preceding sentence. In case the council passes such an ordinance, resolution, motion, or proposition contrary to a board finding a recommendation, the council shall, upon request by the board, communicate its reasons to the board for its passage. So for every such action in a separate section shall specify distinctly the reasons for not giving the board the opportunity to submit its findings and recommendations to the council within a reasonable time. So the council can go ahead and pass whatever they want, even without, but according to the charter, they still need to give us reasons for that. So we're talking adding $30 million debt that will ultimately go to the ratepayers, again, to shoulder the burden, and we don't know what the actual asking price is. The city is depending on a GEO bond, which hasn't even been presented to the public, and we don't even know if it'll pass. And to that point, no one has a plan B. If the project doesn't use all the entire 20 million, we don't know what'll be done with the excess. One option that was stated was to use it for something else. We need to remember, per charter, that IPL cannot be used as a revenue stream for municipal functions, only IPL. IPL is being asked to purchase a building twice the size of where they are currently at, no apparent critical reason to move, with no idea of how to fill the new building. As I understand, it's about 90,000 square feet. And my understanding is City Hall will not be moving there. Where's the money coming from? Is it IPL reserves? And if it is coming from reserves, why not take the money and pay the $9.15 million and save $23 million minus remodel costs? Also, we're in the DKMT study, which we're paying roughly $500,000 for. So where does that fit in? Will this be a consideration included in the study? Will it show, will it skew the results? By adding 32 million in debt, would it compromise a sale if a sale issue passed? I don't think it's beneficial to the ratepayers to sell a building for cost and buy one that's more expensive, especially when the one IPL is currently in is perfectly fine, other than they want to put IPD there. And I will say, my wife and I both volunteer for IPD, so there's no one that wants more to see them in a more adequate, updated facility than us. However, we need to be sure that we're doing this legally, ethically, and by the charter and not on the backs of the ratepayers. I just have so many questions that we as a board need to know to make sure the ratepayers are being represented. Again, this is 32 million in debt that's being proposed with no apparent backup plan if the GO bond fails. Council has already had a first reading and is up for a second reading and vote January 2nd. My question is, why is this being rushed through during Christmas and bypassing PUAB? So that's, my question is, can we, I'd like to ask for a special meeting next week, because the next, January 2nd's a
The week
from-
after that.
Yeah. So, and we've got a potential vote. So that's what I wanted to ask, if we can
You want a special meeting really just to discuss that whole process and how it fits in?
to have them present, because they had 4 people at the council meeting that were there to field questions. So whether it's Adam, whether it's Zach, whether it's one of the other two, that's what I would like to request.
Okay. I'm not sure what the process is for us to request such a meeting,
Do you have to make a motion to,
to see if the PUAB is in favor, and we'll do that. I'm just curious as to
And
the
yeah,
process, yeah.
Right, and then my other question is, we don't have half the people here that are
Exactly.
going to make the decision.
Yeah.
So my second idea would be to make a motion to request council postpone until we're presented. So
Okay.
that one might, in light of the amount of people that we have here, or the lack of, maybe my second motion might be a better one to.
I'm kind of curious, and I'm not sure how the council works on this. They've already had the first reading. They'll do the second reading, like you said, January 2nd. Can they postpone that? They can, okay. All right.
It would just take, one of the council members would have to take a motion, and the council would have to vote on whether to postpone.
And then it goes in,
or
it's
whatever.
in their, it's
Okay.
in their field.
Okay.
Okay, well, then I'll do that. So I would make a motion that we as a board officially by letter request that the city council postpone second reading and vote on the GEHA building purchase until this proposal is presented along with discussion to PUAB.
I'll second, yeah.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
I totally agree with everything he said. I think they're putting the cart before the horse on this deal. I think this is dumb.
I think
would very
the,
much like to talk about it, get some answers.
I think the timing, we've got the study going on, or the 2 studies. They're not going to come back with a recommendation on what we do. They're just presenting information to factor into that decision. With us not being sure which way we're headed, why enter into an agreement like that until we know what's going to happen with, yeah.
Exactly.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken, and I wish Christina was here to back us up, I think that when we call a special meeting, it's typically that first Thursday of the month. That would be 2 weeks after our typical meeting date, if it were a 4-week month.
So that would be too late.
That'd be too late, so we'd have to do something, unless they postpone it to where we can have that
Right.
special meeting.
So I'm thinking by this, that at least puts it in the council's court, and then they can make whatever decision they're going to make.
Okay.
But I think we as a board, that's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for.
And we're here for the ratepayers, we're here to evaluate things that come to us, but we can't evaluate them or study them until it comes to us. And I think this is like the second time something hasn't come to us.
Okay.
I just have one comment.
Just, yeah, talk into the mic so they pick it up.
Unfortunately, I feel like there's some contempt for this board among the city council. So they're going to do whatever they want to do anyway. So that's really,
I'm not sure if it's contempt or they're just unsure of our purpose, maybe.
it's contempt.
And it could be contempt.
It's thinly veiled contempt.
Any other discussion, questions on the motion? We call a roll, please.
Brad Chance,
Aye.
Michael Talcott,
Yes.
Anthony Jeremiah,
Yes.
Sherry Tindall,
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so that motion passed. So now we need to draft a letter, and I can write something up and have,
Okay.
is Christina out for vacation, or
I think just,
she's just hiding out today?
She will be taking some vacation during the holidays, but she'll be monitoring her email.
Okay. Well, what I was thinking was, if I get the letter drafted tonight and get it to her and let her get it out to the board here to make sure it's okay, then we can submit it.
Just talking to Adam, and he asked if we could possibly recess as he's headed this way.
Oh,
Oh, he's headed this way? Okay. Okay.
take 5?
If that's something you'd be willing to do, or,
Yeah, I think the letter probably still will go to council for the meeting, but yeah, I would like to have him here to kind of discuss it.
Or in the interest of time, if you want to proceed with council or board.
Yeah, I was going to move on.
Close the meeting.
We're going to close the meeting until he gets here, so for other questions or comments, anything else?
No.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
I'm good. Thank you.
Anything else on this end?
There's so much to talk about. How can you narrow it down? Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, I've got a few things on here, just some notes. I was just wanting some information on cold weather rule. Can you remind us about it and when it kicks in, et cetera?
Yeah, the cold weather rule says that we will not disconnect people that are behind in their bills when the temperature's going to be below freezing for, I think it's 24 hours or overnight continuous. That does not protect people who write bad checks, break their arrangements, get caught stealing power, those sort of things. But, your resident or business who is just delinquent in their bills a little bit, we won't shut the power off in those circumstances.
Okay, okay. Have we had many instances so far this winter that we've had to do that? It's not really been that cold, I don't think.
So far,
Overnight has little.
we haven't had too much of that that would get into
Okay.
those windows.
Okay. I had lunch with an emergency manager from the region, and they were talking amongst themselves, wanting to know about disconnects. They see, they think there's a lot more people without power right now. It's not because of the cold weather rule. You know, they were curious, and I said, well, they wanted to get a hold of the utilities and say, tell us how many people have been disconnected. And I said, well, that's something you're not going to get that number. My question is, just from what you've seen, are disconnects up or down at this time last year, say, compared to the previous year?
I believe the latest report I got was that our delinquent accounts are slightly down from last year.
Okay, okay. All right, well, that's moving in the right direction anyway. I had sent Christina a note. Spire, or a contractor for Spire, is going to do a lot of work around the city on gas mains, and they've got one at Truman and Swope that they've had torn up for 2 or 3 months. They've had the left lane from there headed back west towards Independence Square, to about a 2-block period. They've had that lane blocked off with cones and have done nothing in it for that 2-month period. People have been hitting those cones, using them for target practice. They're laying everywhere. And I was just curious, and I drive by there and I don't see anybody working on that gas main or whatever they're doing. I'm just kind of curious, are they shut down for the winter on that? Are they doing something, different?
Run out of money.
Run out of money? Yeah.
Supply chain?
Didn't find the treasure they were digging for? I don't know what's going on, but,
They have open right-of-way permits through, obviously, most of the city right now, and they seem to be bouncing crews just back and forth. I don't know if they're having staffing issues like we're having, or what,
don't
they're
know.
bouncing crews.
but at Truman and Swope, they had a pile of dirt there that when you pulled out, you couldn't see anything back to the east, traffic-wise. And I have seen a lot of near misses there where people have pulled out not realizing there was a car coming pretty fast through there.
I can get right away to go check out that.
I didn't check out that whole thing, and I know they've got a few steel plates in that left lane back to the west, but they haven't worked on them in months. I don't know if they forgot they were there, but the cone issue of that left lane block there, like decimating those. So,
I drive through there 2-3 times a day,
yeah,
and it is just a mess.
it's a big mess, yeah.
Mess.
Yeah. My next question was on transformers and the supply you keep in-house. Are you keeping more in-house because of the long lead times and getting that stuff? Has there been any mandate come down from anybody that you have to keep more in stock?
No, what we've done is we've looked back like at over the last couple of years and see what a yearly average is for use of those, and try to look at how many of those are issued because of construction and how many of those are issued because of emergency repairs, and we try to use that as a guide for how many we keep in stock. We're not keeping more in stock. In fact, we probably have less, but we're trying to make sure we have at least what we typically experience for emergencies. I had to tell one contractor, he wanted 12 of a size that I had 10 in my entire warehouse. And it's like, I can't wipe out my entire supply and then next week have a truck run over one that now I can't replace it. So we're working with the developers and contractors to try to make sure that we issue them as we can, but being responsible to all the other ratepayers that are out there.
Well, 'cause I know the Missouri Public Service Commission has come back on the investor owns, and they're making them really beef up their transformer supplies, because in some cases it's a 2-year lead time now, where it used to be a few months. And
Transformers that we could get in a matter of 10 to 12 weeks, they're now quoting 20 to 30 weeks.
Yep.
Large substation transformers, they're quoting 3 to 5 years.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
the supply chain crisis is real.
yeah, and it's not getting any better either.
We have been meeting with representatives from many of our state and national legislators to try to get their assistance in pushing certain bills to hopefully make an impact.
Yeah, because it's going to be a big issue, especially with winter coming on, and people like to park against some of those pad mounted transformers. They don't use their brakes, they just use the transformers or poles, so it does cause a big problem, so. Okay, my next to last bullet point I want to just comment on, being on the Charter Review Committee, I think it's going to council on the 8th for the presentation to them on the work we've been doing. One of the recommendations that was added to the list was to look at the PUAB, the way it's structured. We've talked about, do we use the people that are nominated on it like we've done, or do we do more of an official board that is run more like some of the other municipal utilities have been done? Springfield does it and others. And so that recommendation is going to them to take a look at. There's a list of about 10 recommendations, and that was one of them that got added to the list. So we'll see if we can move that anywhere forward. And the last thing I want to mention, and this will probably come up in the next meeting or one after that, Mr. McLucky over here has been doing a lot of research on the PUAB, going back and getting eye strain from looking at all the old examiners and everything they've mentioned about PUAB, because at one time, the council, when Barbara Potts was there as mayor, they were going to take it to the voters about what to do with the PUAB. Well, then Bill Carpenter became mayor, and said, yeah, we're not doing that, so it died. But he's done a lot of research on that, just the kind of the history of the PUAB here in Independence. And I told him, I said, well, we ought to take that information and make a presentation out of it, at least for our own knowledge, to kind of educate us all on the PUAB and how it's got to the point it is right now. We might find it kind of interesting in some of the stuff he found, but it was hours and hours of microfiche, and then he'd get off on something, squirrel, and he'd be off looking at something else, and so, but I do appreciate you doing that, and
Just say, I don't want to dignify it with the word research too much. I was sitting and, like you said, going through the microfiche. Examiners, 1989 and 1990 was when this happened. A councilman by the name, an ex-councilman who was on the PUAB, John Cogswell, had this idea of doing a professional board that would, and the idea back then was take it over from the city council. And I won't get into specifics. I'd be happy to do a little presentation.
Yep.
I shared the trove of articles with the chairman. I also gave it to Indy Energy, because to me, that's a good way to get it out there in the community, but I'd be happy to share it with everyone here if you want to take a look at it.
I think it would be just an interesting historical look at how we got to where we are, and maybe look at what led them to look at changing the board structure back in 89 and 90, but they didn't do it.
Mr. Chairman, maybe I'll send that to Christine.
Yeah, great, yeah, and have her send it out, that'd be great. That was my punch list of things that I had on here. Do you have any idea, Lisa, how far out Adam is?
He was at the light here at 23rd and Tuesday.
I've got another
Okay.
I just wondered about. Here we have.
Go for it.
So
Oh, yeah.
I'll ask Jim specifically. I noticed that there's a lot of federal money coming down for energy stuff. I noticed DNR had a grant recently. I just wondered who, with your shop, kind of looks at that. Have we applied for some grants? Are we getting any of that money as it filters down to the states? Or how does
We
that
have
work?
a consultant that works with the city to look at various grant opportunities. And on the energy side, many of them revolve around battery installations, solar installations, wind, getting power into underserved neighborhoods. And many of them are not grants that we would participate in, simply because they wouldn't be a fit with what we have.
Sure.
Plus, I think right now, we're in a position of waiting to see how these studies come out before any big decisions get made.
Right, sure. Just curious. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Hello, Mr. Norris.
Mayor, I'm very sorry for my tardiness.
That's okay. We have plenty of stuff to talk about. We've been talking, we actually have made a motion to send to council, draft a letter to see if we can get them to postpone the vote on the GEHA purchase from the standpoint of bringing it back to the PUAB, discussing it with this body so we can make a recommendation. According to what a member here read out of the city charter, it looks like it's a purview of the PUAB to take those matters under advisement to make a recommendation. And so the concern is that we've been bypassed on that. He had some specific questions on cost and different things. And I don't know if you want to kind of, in a nutshell, paraphrase what you'd said, or to open the discussion.
Well, I didn't actually have, I did this based on the fact that we didn't get it on the agenda. So, but I just had several concerns everywhere from cost, backup plans, what it's going to be used for. I'd have to read the whole thing over again, but I think in a nutshell, I think, to be fair to the ratepayers, I think it should be presented to PUAB. I know that council has they can, vote how they want to vote. I mean, they can vote with whether we recommend or not. However, the charter also states that if they're going to do that, they need to provide us in a separate section that will specify distinctly the reasons for not giving the board the opportunity to submit its findings and recommendations. So that's why I did this in comments, and I think that's ultimately why we ended up doing the motion for the letter.
Okay.
I didn't even talk, I'm sorry.
So I would maybe position this as it's more of an operational matter. City facilities where employees work is definitely an operational matter. Real estate transactions are done in executive sessions. So that's part of the reason that, we talked about it publicly as soon as we were in a position to. That wasn't just last Monday night, that's been for the last month. We've been talking about this publicly. There's been ample time for public input, and, we've been very transparent through this process about what our intentions were. So I, believe that there's been opportunity for people to weigh in on that and provide comment, including last Monday night and then including next 2 Tuesdays from now. So this is not just a utility building. There are funds coming in from different sources for this as well. So the concept or the notion that this is related to the GO bond is they're not related. So this is not just ratepayer funds, this is general fund, these are special sales taxes that are going towards the purchase of this. So that exceeds the purview of the P rate.
Okay, if I can respond, it hasn't been that clear, and again, if there hasn't been any talk of anybody but municipal services and IPL being in that building, and apparently they're not going to put City Hall in there, and so you've got tens of thousands of square feet that nobody has, or at least there hasn't been a comment as to what else is going to be in there to fill that up.
Yeah, so I believe my staff report that is posted on the agenda for Monday's meeting was pretty clear about how funding would work for this. And it would be based on the square footage occupancy of each different department. So I feel like, and that was posted, that's 2 Fridays, ahead of time. So it's been out there since Thanksgiving, thereabouts, right around Thanksgiving time. And that was available for the public and everybody else to see. I think the city manager did a good job on Monday night outlining the plan there for the building, and I would encourage you all or anybody else to view that footage and to get a good understanding of what the plan is there.
Well, I watched the entire meeting, and I heard the comment when it was asked, what if the bond doesn't pass? What if we don't get financing or whatever? What is the backup plan? And the answer was, I believe we would just have to go back to the drawing board. So there didn't appear to be any plan B. So that's my concern. I'm not trying to be adversarial or anything, but I am trying to look out for the ratepayers, and when we're getting into that much debt, having IPL basically, and my understanding is that IPL funds are going to be used to purchase that.
That's inaccurate. And that's my staff report on Monday night was very clear about that. IPL, part of all departments that occupy that building will be contributing to that, not just IPL.
Oh, no, right,
So,
I know.
And in fact, IPL's portion probably will be relatively small because of all the other facilities that they have available to them. So that's going to be a small portion of the contribution.
Okay.
And delaying this, we will run the risk of default on our contracts. if this gets delayed. So we're on a very tight timeline.
Any other questions on the issue? Okay. Anything else from you guys?
No?
We'll go ahead with our motion the way we made it.
And they can
Yeah.
make the decision.
So we'll go ahead with that part. I'll get that drafted to Christina to get out to you guys to look at,
Okay.
and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Next meeting will be, what's the date in January? I got a software update, don't I? The 18th? Okay, so it will be next year, seems like so far away, January 18th, 2024. We'll be here. They're still working on the sound system here. That's not completed, but we'll get there as we can. Anything else before I adjourn the meeting? Happy holidays to everybody. Thank you for your service this past year, and we will see you, I guess, next